wasn't in Tuscany, everyone would be talking about it. That much is true, but you know what? Everyone's loss is your gain. Lucca's proximity to destinations such as Pisa and Florence has meant that it spent too long in the shadow of its better known counterparts, but that is changing. People are slowly waking up to the fact that Lucca is indeed a charmer and, big bonus, is not as crowded as some of the other Tuscan hotspots. Personally, I'm all for being able to walk around a destination without being barged by endless crowds, and I'm guessing that you are too.
We've just headed into Lucca, and I've been to Lucca before. Absolutely charming city. There's so much to see. An old central square with Roman ruins, a palace in which they filmed parts of Portrait of a Lady. We have got some gorgeous places to discover.
You know that I said that Lucca was hiding more than a few secrets? Well, how about the central square that is built on the remains of an ancient Roman amphitheatre? My first time in Lucca, I noticed the distinct shape of the town square, which actually is more of an oval, and thought it was really curious, and so I started digging into the history behind it. It turns out many of the cafes, restaurants and bars built on this central square are actually built around the remains of an ancient Roman amphitheatre that dates all the way back to 150 AD. It's a really cool spot and a lovely place to just hang out for a few hours, grab a coffee and people watch in a spectacular central location. We're heading to Palazzo Pfanner. Now, this is arguably one of the best known buildings in Lucca, and for good reason. It might look familiar to you if you've ever watched the Jane Campion film The Portrait of a Lady, you know, the one starring Nicole Kidman and Daniel Day-Lewis. Well, actually parts of it were filmed here in Palazzo Pfanner, and you can see why. With its lush gardens and gorgeous fountains, it's nothing short of unforgettable. Quick history lesson here. So the palace was commissioned by the Morricone family in 1660 and changed hands a few times before landing in the hands of the Pfanner brewery family in the 19th century, and it's been in the hands of the Pfanner family ever since. The gardens I was raving about, well, they date back to the 18th century. It's a really lovely space to just go and have a wander around. The palazzo is just opulent and crazy and kind of a bit dated, but a fantastic place to just spend a little bit of time wandering around. But for me, the real appeal of this destination is absolutely in the gardens, which are just stunning. There are lush fountains, loads of greenery. It's all set out in this ornamental, perfect layout. So I would recommend spending at least a couple of hours hanging out in the gardens. And here's a little top tip for you. So you can get two types of tickets to go and see Palazzo Pfanner. The first is a gardens and a palace ticket, and I think that costs around €6.50. But if you're in a hurry and you've got less time, or you just want to save a few euros, then you can also get a garden only ticket, which is cheaper, and you don't get to access the palace, but you can spend all the time you want in the gardens instead. One of the things that I'm pretty sure that you'll notice about Lucca from the get-go is its impressive city walls. And how many cities in Europe can you walk around the whole of the central city along its city walls? Well, in Lucca you can. What's cool about the 4.2 kilometer long city walls isn't only the role that they've played in Lucca's history, but it's also the important role that they have in the city's present. The walls are a vital part of the city life, and locals use the pathways all the time to bicycle, jog, or just take a casual afternoon stroll, and you should definitely do the same. It's a great way, walking around the periphery on the city walls is a great way to catch all the different views of Lucca. You know, Lucca is pretty different to other destinations in Tuscany, particularly those further south, but if you are really keen to go and discover some better known destinations and other hidden gems, then why not check out this video, which is my Tuscan road trip, where I take you through some of the best destinations in Tuscany, big and small. Alright, let's get back to the action. It might not come as a huge shock, but like most places in Tuscany, the food in Lucca is chef's kiss. So of course you're going to hunt out some Lucchese cuisine while you are in the city. I am not exaggerating when I say that Lucca has some really incredible restaurants that you should definitely pop into while you are in the city. The ingredients and the centuries old recipes are just going to blow your taste buds away. If you don't believe me, look no further than the tortelli Lucchese, and this is an egg-rich pasta dish stuffed with pork or beef and seasonal ingredients like chard and pine nuts in a rich tomato and wine-based sauce. It is amazing. I would definitely recommend going to Buca di Sant Antonio, which is one of the oldest, in fact it is the oldest restaurant in the city and dates back over 300 years. They serve up some fantastic traditional Lucchese cuisine, including the tortelli Lucchese that I just mentioned. I would also recommend trying the rabbit pate, another local speciality, and bacala fritters. Oh, bellissimo. You might know that Lucca is nicknamed the city of 100 churches, and I don't think it really takes a genius to work out why, because when you're walking around the city there are so many churches everywhere. So of course you're going to pop into a couple of them, and you should really start with the Lucca's Cathedral or Duomo. This cathedral is actually 1,000 years old and it really doesn't disappoint. So maybe a lot of the building dates back to the 14th century and later, but regardless of its age, the Romanesque exterior of the Church of San Martino and its Gothic interior make it an absolute must-see. You should also make a point when you're in the cathedral to look at the holy face of Lucca. This ancient relic is a nearly 2.5 meter wooden cross, and legend has it that Nicodemus stored it secretly in a cave for over 700 years. You can make of that what you will, but you should definitely check it out. Now, if you spend any time looking at Lucca's distinct skyline, there's no doubt that you're going to notice the tower with a tree poking out the top of it. That is the Torre Guinigi, and this has been in Lucca since the 14th century. You can retrace the steps up the 45-meter tower, which is just south of the Piazza del Anfiteatro. It's a bit of an odd one really, because you don't ever expect to see a tree poking out of the top of the tower, but it's a really cool spot to explore, and of course the views from the top of the tower of the city are absolutely stunning. Now, I've already talked about the fact that Lucca is known as the city of 100 churches, but if you only have time for one other church other than the cathedral, I definitely recommend going to the Chiesa di San Michele in Foro. This is another top spot in the city and one of the most impressive religious and historical sites in the region. The church was actually built on the site of a former Roman forum. The arches and the artwork inside are really cool. It's got a beautiful interior, and you should go and check out the artwork of the Madonna with Child by Andrea della Robbia. Love Lucca? Well, this is Tuscany and there are other destinations to discover. Did I mention that this is actually the 4th video in my Tuscany series? And I know that you're going to love San Gimignano, nicknamed the medieval Manhattan of Tuscany thanks to its sky-high towers poking out of the town's skyline. You can go and check it out in this video. I'll see you there. I'm Juliana Barnaby of the Discoveries of. Keep discovering, and I'll see you in the next adventure.